Napoleon Bonaparte, a name synonymous with ambition, strategy, and conquest, started his life on the small island of Corsica. Born in 1769, Napoleon rose through the ranks during the French Revolution. His tactical brilliance quickly became apparent. His early campaigns in Italy showcased his military genius. He secured crucial victories, expanding French influence. In 1799, he seized power in a coup d'état, becoming First Consul of France. France found in Napoleon a leader capable of restoring order. Napoleon had grander ambitions than domestic reform. He envisioned a Europe united under French hegemony. His coronation as emperor in 1804 marked a new chapter in European history. Napoleon's success on the battlefield stemmed from a unique combination of factors. He possessed an innate understanding of military tactics, logistics, and strategy. Napoleon's armies marched faster and farther than any other in Europe. He instilled a sense of élan and esprit de corps in his soldiers. Napoleon's charisma made him a beloved leader and a formidable opponent. One of Napoleon's most significant innovations was the use of the corps system. He divided his armies into independent units, each with its own infantry, artillery, and cavalry. This allowed for greater flexibility and speed on the battlefield. The Battle of Austerlitz, fought on December 2, 1805, stands as a testament to Napoleon's tactical brilliance and cemented his reputation as a military genius. Facing a numerically superior force of Russian and Austrian troops, Napoleon employed a cunning strategy to lure his enemies into a trap. He feigned weakness, withdrawing his forces from the strategically important Pratzen Heights, enticing the Allied forces to seize the seemingly undefended high ground. Napoleon anticipated this move and positioned his troops to launch a devastating counterattack. As the Allied forces advanced onto the Pratzen Heights, they exposed themselves to a withering crossfire from concealed French artillery. Napoleon then unleashed his elite Imperial Guard, shattering the enemy lines and sending the Allied forces into a chaotic retreat. The Battle of Austerlitz resulted in a decisive victory for Napoleon, crippling Austria and forcing them to sign a humiliating peace treaty. This battle, often considered Napoleon's greatest triumph, demonstrated his mastery of maneuver warfare and solidified his control over Central Europe. Despite his string of victories, Napoleon's ambition ultimately proved to be his undoing. In 1812, he embarked on a disastrous invasion of Russia, leading the largest army Europe had ever seen into the vast expanse of the Russian steppes. The Russians, however, refused to engage in a decisive battle, instead employing a scorched earth policy, burning villages and poisoning wells as they retreated. The French army, already stretched thin by the vast distances and harsh conditions, faced dwindling supplies and mounting casualties. Napoleon captured Moscow, but the victory proved Pyrrhic. The Russians had set fire to the city, denying Napoleon a symbolic victory and forcing him to begin a long and arduous retreat. The brutal Russian winter set in, decimating the retreating French army. Lacking supplies, ravaged by disease, and harried by Cossack raids, Napoleon's once mighty Grande Armée was reduced to a shadow of its former self. The disastrous Russian campaign marked a turning point in Napoleon's fortunes. It exposed the limits of his power and emboldened his enemies, who now sensed an opportunity to break free from French domination. Section 5. Europe in the balance, the impact of Napoleon's conquests. Napoleon's conquests had a profound and lasting impact on the political and social landscape of Europe. He shattered the old feudal order, spreading the ideals of the French Revolution: liberty, equality, fraternity, across the continent. Napoleon's armies acted as agents of change, abolishing serfdom, introducing legal codes, and promoting religious tolerance in many parts of Europe. His reforms, while often self-serving, planted the seeds of liberalism and nationalism that would eventually blossom in the decades following his downfall. However, Napoleon's conquests also sowed the seeds of resentment and resistance. While some welcomed him as a liberator, many others saw him as a foreign conqueror. The imposition of French rule, coupled with heavy taxation and conscription, fueled nationalist sentiments and led to the rise of guerrilla warfare in occupied territories. Napoleon's empire, built on military conquest and maintained through constant warfare, ultimately proved unsustainable. Section 6. The Seeds of Discontent, Resistance and Nationalism. As Napoleon's grip on Europe tightened, so too did the forces of resistance. Nationalist movements emerged across the continent. fueled by a desire for self-determination and a rejection of French hegemony. In Spain, a brutal guerrilla war erupted against French occupation, tying down thousands of Napoleon's troops and draining valuable resources. The Spanish Ulcer, as it became known, demonstrated the limits of Napoleon's ability to control vast territories through military force alone. In Prussia, reformers like Scharnhorst and Gneisenau modernized the Prussian army, instilling a sense of national pride and preparing for the day when they could challenge French dominance. The humiliation of defeat at the hands of Napoleon fueled a desire for revenge and a determination to restore Prussian glory. As Napoleon's empire expanded, so too did the cracks in its foundation. The seeds of nationalism and resistance sown by Napoleon's conquests would eventually grow into a powerful force that would bring about his downfall. Section 7, Waterloo, the end of an era. After his disastrous Russian campaign, Napoleon's empire began to crumble. Forced to abdicate in 1814, he was exiled to Elba. In 1815, he escaped and returned to France, rallying supporters. The stage was set for a final confrontation near Waterloo. The Battle of Waterloo was brutal and bloody. Napoleon's army was overwhelmed by British and Prussian forces. Exiled to St. Helena, he died in 1821. Section 8. A legacy forged in conquest. Napoleon's enduring impact. Napoleon Bonaparte's legacy is a complex and multifaceted one. He was a military genius, a ruthless conqueror, and a shrewd administrator. He left an indelible mark on Europe, reshaping its political landscape, spreading the ideals of the French Revolution, and inspiring both admiration and revulsion. Napoleon's conquests led to the deaths of millions, yet he also implemented lasting reforms that modernized governments and legal systems across Europe. His legacy continues to be debated by historians and enthusiasts alike, with some emphasizing his military brilliance and others focusing on the devastating consequences of his ambition. Regardless of one's perspective, there is no denying that Napoleon Bonaparte was one of the most influential figures in European history. His rise and fall serve as a cautionary tale about the intoxicating nature of power and the enduring allure of ambition. From the battlefields of Italy to the streets of Paris, Napoleon's name continues to evoke images of grandeur, ambition, and ultimately, tragedy.